At school, she's the campus beauty. But in the shadows, she's an assassin. A mission goes wrong and she's injured. With nowhere left to go, she breaks into a stranger's apartment and finds a seemingly fragile male lead. Without time to think, she seals his mouth at once. A sudden, intimate pin faces inches apart. Don't be fooled by how gentle he seems around her. Anyone who dares harm his woman won't see tomorrow. Because in a past life, they were a devoted couple, and she died saving him under a rain of arrows. The woman he loved most died right before his eyes. Broken with grief, he swore to love her again in the next life. Carrying memories of that past, he decides to stay by her side, this time under a different identity. The female lead is Shin Niank, a student with multiple identities, cool, sharp, and striking. The male lead is Xie Yun, once a ruthless demon lord in his past life. Now he plays the role of a delicate younger man because only then will she care about him. The story begins in Country C before dawn. Shin Niank is wounded and still being hunted. She thinks hiding in a building will be enough, only to discover someone else is already there. Xie Yun slowly turned his head and asked, "Who's there?" The next second his mouth was covered. She was very close, her voice low and lethal. "Don't move, don't make a sound or I'll kill you." After some time, the people outside left and Shin Niank finally released her hand. Seeing her condition, Xie Yun noticed the discomfort. "What's wrong?" She stared at him in shock. "Are you hurt? Aren't you afraid of me?" Xie Yun smiled faintly. "If you wanted to kill me, you would have done it already, right?" With no other choice, she asked if he had any medicine. Seeing his wife injured, love-struck Xie Yun immediately went to find some. While waiting, Shin Niank weakly leaned against the bed. Before long, Xie Yun returned and handed her the first aid kit. She thanked him and reached for it, but the delicate younger man refused. He said gently, "Let me help. I've learned a bit of first aid." Then Xie Yun carefully treated Shin Niank's wound. But when he realized it was a gunshot wound, he instantly wanted to crush whoever had hurt her last life. She protected him. This life he would protect her. Xie Yun leaned in gently and whispered, "It might hurt a little. Do you need anesthetic?" Without saying a word, Shin Niank looked at the man treating her wounds and couldn't help thinking he was quite good-looking. When the antiseptic touched the wound, a sharp sting followed. Noticing her pain, Xie Yun said with concern, "I should give you some anesthetic." Shin Niank was a killer. How could she fear such pain? She replied at once, "No need. Keep going." Unable to argue with her, Xie Yun could only give in. After the treatment, she leaned weakly against the headboard, unsure why, but in this stranger's home she felt an unfamiliar sense of safety. Once the wound was stabilized, he made no move against her, and his alertness seemed surprisingly low only because Xie Yun knew this woman was the wife he had been searching for. When the treatment ended, Shin Niank sat weakly by the bed. Soon after, Xie Yun came over and said, "Change your clothes. That one's ruined." A trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. Why was this man treating her so well? She took the clothes and said, "I'll do it myself. Turn around." Then she removed her coat. Slowly she put on the sweater. Xie Yun turned his back as asked. Hidden from view, a meaningful smile appeared. "Nian Nian, I finally found you." After getting dressed, she adjusted her clothes. Then she said to Xie Yun, "I'm done. When the rain stops, I'll leave." "Thank you." Xie Yun said nothing more and simply replied, "All right," because he wished she could stay longer. At dawn, Shin Niank slowly opened her eyes and instinctively turned her head. The man beside her was completely unguarded, without the slightest alertness. Seeing this, she said nothing and quietly left. With agile movements, she reached out and dropped down in one swift motion. Xie Yun woke up as well, a trace of reluctance lingering in his eyes. 3 months later in Jiangnan, Shin Niank sat at her desk, her fingers tapping rapidly on the keyboard to say hacker. After working for so long, she finally finished the code. Suddenly, a wolf-like figure with glowing red eyes appeared behind her, charging at her like a dog. Shin Niank's gaze shifted slightly. She immediately recognized it as her own dog, Nick. At the same time, a man named Jason walked in and asked, "You finished your task?" "Thanks to Nick, I managed to finish a week early." Jason sat down slowly and asked, "By the way, how's the injury you had last time? Any after effects?" Shin Niank shrugged slightly and replied, "I'm fine. How's the thing I asked you to look into?" Jason answered with a grave expression, "That time you were hunted, someone leaked your location. But someone got to them before we did. All that was left for us was his head." It was strange what kind of person could slip into their hideout unnoticed and kill someone so openly and brutally. The surveillance footage was also tampered with. There was no data at all. "Your identity as a hacker besides me, who else knows?" Who would have thought that this 17-year-old girl was also a wanted criminal long pursued by the FBI? In the hacking world, there are 3 types of labels. Not just black hats and white hats, but also gray hats. Simply put, black hats are villains while white hats are considered the good guys. Gray hats walk the line between right and wrong, acting alone and belonging to no faction. She was one of them, code name K, short for King. Jason asked again, besides me, who else knows? She replied, just you. Coming back to his senses, Jason didn't dwell on it and said, all right. Just be careful. Shin Miank stood up slowly and said she needed to go to Linqing to handle something. That day, Shin Miank arrived in Linqing, dragging her suitcase behind her. She suddenly heard a commotion nearby. 2 thugs were bullying a frail-looking boy, threatening, hand over all your money or you'll regret it. One of them grabbed Xie Yun by the collar and snarled, hurry up and give me everything valuable you've got, be smart about it. Xie Yun insisted that he had no money. After cursing bastard, one of the thugs was about to throw a punch, when a calm voice interrupted, excuse me, you're blocking the way. Only then did they notice the newcomer, a woman with glossy, straight black hair. It was Shin Miank, who had just arrived at dawn. One of the thugs grinned. Hey beauty, lost your way? Want us to walk you home? Hearing such nonsense, Shin Miank replied with disdain, are you worthy? The words enraged them. Grab her. How dare she talk to us like that? As one of them closed to within a meter of her, Shin Miank casually drove a knee into his groin. Before he could react, he dropped to his knees in agony. Seeing how pathetic they were, she added mockingly, such a grand bow? Realizing they were outmatched, the thugs wisely chose to flee. After it was over, Shin Miank finally looked at the man. Xie Yun thanked her softly. In his past life, she had saved him more times than he could count. As she turned to leave, he said, my name is Xie Yun. She replied with just 3 words. Shin Miank then waved a hand and walked away. That evening, the Shin family held a banquet to acknowledge her return. This was the reason Shin Miank had come back to Linqing. The one raising the toast was her grandfather, Shin Qinghua, the head of the Shin family. Shin Miank had been abducted and gone missing at the age of 5. Now that news had finally come, it was clear how genuinely happy her grandfather was. Although the gathering was meant to welcome her home, as a cold-blooded killer, she was not good at expressing emotions at all. Her second sister, Shin Qihua, and third brother, Shin Shu, could both tell. They warmly welcomed their younger sister. Is this what having a family feels like? Yet deep inside her heart, the image of one person still lingered. In her memory, that person had said he would love her forever. He seemed incredibly important, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember who he was. Coming back to herself, Shin Miank felt confused. Who was he, and why did he appear in her mind? Just then, another woman walked in. She was Yu Wanyang, the Shin family's adopted daughter. Her siblings' calls have come over and meet your sister left her momentarily at a loss. Her grandfather said, Wanyang, you must treat your sister well from now on. When Yu Wanyang saw this sister up close, she was struck by how beautiful she was, and a trace of inferiority crept into her heart. She thought to herself that she was only an adopted daughter. Having this life already meant she should be satisfied. After coming to terms with it, she smiled and said, Sister, welcome home. Time moved on to early morning at the high school. It was Shin Miank's first day at her new school. Beside her, her younger sister Wanyang said eagerly, Sister, I'll take you to the office to handle the paperwork. Grandpa asked me to help you get familiar with the campus. She replied coolly, no need, I can handle it myself. In the principal's office, a boy was about to take the reinstatement papers from the principal. At that moment, a voice at the door announced that a new student was here to process a transfer. After the principal said, come in, Shin Miank walked inside. Seeing who it was, Xie Yun slowly turned his head and looked at the woman he had long yearned for. If there were no hidden design behind it, only a fool would believe such a coincidence. She looked at the man before her, her heart shaken. It was him again. On her very first day, Shin Miank ran into this man once more. Seeing that both students were present and assigned to the same class, the principal asked Xie Yun to take her over. Needless to say, he was more than willing. Xie Yun stepped up to her and said, what a coincidence that we meet again. She replied politely, indeed, what a coincidence. When they reached the classroom with the teacher immediately began the introduction. Everyone, Xie Yun has officially returned to school today. We're also welcoming a transfer student, Shin Miank. I hope you all get along. Sitting in class, Shin Miank looked as if she was either listening or lost in thought, her expression as calm and unreadable as ever. Xie Yun sat right behind her, in the perfect seat, one that allowed him to look at her openly. Even during class, the devoted Xie couldn't help sketching her from a past life that I said I would find you. In that past life, Shen Niang chose to protect Xie, facing the enemy alone. The woman he loved most faded away right before his eyes, leaving Xie in unbearable agony. Yet beyond grief, there was nothing he could change, perhaps a tragedy destined from the start. After all, a god who saves all beings and a demoness stained with blood were never meant to walk the same path. That day Shen Niang said to Xie Yun, I hope someone will love me in the next life. Overwhelmed with sorrow, Xie Yun held Nian Nian's hand and said, Nian Nian, in your next life, someone will love you, you'll have a family who cherishes you and friends who protect you. But no one will ever love you more than I do. These fragments of memory surfaced, strengthening Xie Yun's resolve in the present. In this life he would stay by her side and never let her be hurt again. In the quiet classroom, the teacher explained a problem. Xie Yun gently poked Shen Niang's back and whispered, Did you get it? Then, wearing a confused look, he asked, Could you explain it to me? I didn't quite follow the teacher. If it were anyone else, Shen Niang wouldn't have bothered, but the man before her looked too gentle to refuse. Xie Yun spoke about the formula, yet his eyes stayed on her face. Nian Nian, you haven't changed at all. After she finished explaining, Shen Niang asked, Got it? He smiled softly. I got it. Next, she accidentally flipped to a page that felt strangely familiar. The figure in the drawing instantly caught her eye. Realizing his secret had been exposed, Xie Yun quickly closed the sketchbook. Don't look. It's not very good. But the notebook slipped from his hands and both of them crouched down to pick it up at the same time. Their bodies brushed unintentionally. Their eyes met, like lovers who had shared 1,000 years together. To avoid the awkwardness, they quickly stood up. At that moment, a boy from behind tried to strike up a conversation, approaching a little shyly. Shen, want to grab a meal together? It's your first day, you might not know where the cafeteria is. Hearing this, Xie Yun almost ground his pen tip flat. How dare this guy flirt with his wife right in front of him? Sensing something was off, the boy immediately grew nervous. Shen Niang declined without hesitation. Sorry, I'm eating with Xie Yun. Hearing her answer, Xie Yun looked deeply satisfied, as if his feelings had finally been acknowledged. He stood up and said, Then let's go. We'll eat together. Walking side by side across campus, they looked just like a campus couple, one handsome, one beautiful. Only the boy seemed shy while the girl remained cool and distant. At that moment, Wanyang spotted her sister and hurried over. Sister, let's eat together. Though there was no real hostility between them, for the aloof Shen Niang, such social ties felt unnecessary. She replied coldly, No need. I'm eating with Xie Yun. When Xie Yun and Wanyang exchanged looks, an unspoken tension flared between them. Still, neither could do anything. After all, the choice belonged to her. Wanyang awkwardly brushed her hair aside and said, If you need anything, sister, you can come find me in class 1, grade 2. Shen Niang heard her but didn't take it to heart. Seeing this, Wanyang's friends muttered unhappily, What's so special about her? The next day in class, Shen Niang noticed whispers spreading around her. She glanced around in confusion. Then the offensive scribbles on her desk caught her eye, instantly irritating her. She turned sharply and demanded, Who did this? Meeting her gaze, everyone shrank back. Someone spoke up. When I came in, I saw Yijisong from class 1 leaving the room. Learning it was someone from class 1, she immediately stood up and headed straight there. At that moment, class 1 of grade 2 was still murmuring among themselves. Someone asked aloud, Who's Yijisong? Just then, Shen Niang appeared at the classroom door. Wanyang turned around in surprise. Sis beside her, a friend put on an innocent look and said, It was me. Do you need something? She stared at the girl coldly and strode forward as if she might strike at any moment. Even so, a killer still had her own code. She held back and dragged the girl over to her seat in class 9, grade 2. Fixing her with a fierce glare, she demanded, You did this? After a brief pause, the girl admitted it outright. I did. I just can't stand the way you act, all high and mighty toward Wanyang. That she's such a good person, I won't let you bully her. Those words I carved fit you perfectly. The non-stop rant annoyed Shen Niang. She cut in coldly, Are you done? Then she grabbed the girl by the head and slammed it down once. She snatched up a pencil nearby and pressed it threateningly toward her face. You think she's a gentle campus beauty? She isn't. She's a killer people fear. Even at school, she wouldn't hesitate to teach the clueless a lesson, and right now she was determined to make her suffer a little. Just then, her sister's voice interrupted her. Sister, can I handle this? Wanyang stepped forward and suggested, Sister, let her switch desks with you. Would that work? Shen Niang considered it and agreed, but set one condition: no one was allowed to help. The class was shocked. This was clearly making things difficult for Yi Jisung. Petite as she was, a desk and chair were heavy for her. Hearing her sister's decision, Wanyang could only tell her friend to do it. With no way to resist, Yi Jisung fought back tears and began lifting the desk on her own. Back in the classroom with the desk only halfway moved, she was already panting in the hallway. At that moment Yu Wanyang said coldly, "I don't like people who act on their own cleverness, Jisung." Jisung tried to explain that she only couldn't stand seeing Shin Niang bully her, but what Wanyang said next left Yi Jisung at a loss. "Jisung, she's the legitimate daughter of the Shin family. She didn't bully me, that you've really disappointed me." Then a voice came from behind Yi Jisung. "Yu Wanyang, the teacher wants to see you in the office." In the office, the teacher asked, "What exactly is going on here?" A male teacher beside them spoke up first. "This must be Shin Niang's fault. Ye is top 30 in the grade, how could she cause trouble?" But then Yu Wanyang spoke. "Teacher Zhao, the main fault this time lies with Yi. Shin Niang has nothing to do with it." Even Shin Niang was surprised. She hadn't expected her not to side with Yi Jisung. Meanwhile, the friend looked utterly pitiful, as if she had lost on all fronts. Seeing the situation, the teacher could only conclude, "All right then. Shin, you can go back to class, that I'll handle the rest." After returning to the classroom, she slowly sat down. Her gaze drifted toward the seat behind her, wondering if Xie Yun hadn't come today. It turned out Xie Yun was absent due to illness. The teacher said to Shin Niang, "Your place is close to Xie's. Could you stop by and check on him for me?" After understanding the situation, Shin Niang agreed and was now on her way to Xie Yun's place. She unexpectedly heard a little girl say, "Brother, why are you wearing big sister's clothes again?" And the brother the girl referred to was none other than Yu Wanyang. Wanyang adjusted her clothes and coaxed her gently. "Be good, Ning Ning. I came out in a hurry this time. It won't happen again." The moment Shin Niang recognized Wanyang, Wanyang also spotted her sister. Knowing there was no way to hide it, she said to the child, "Ning Ning, go home first. Brother needs to talk to this sister." The little girl skipped away happily, calling back, "Okay, brother will come see me." Shin Niang kept her eyes on Wanyang's face and quietly asked, "Bro? There?" With her secret exposed, Wanyang could only explain, "I never meant to take your place in the Shin family. Grandfather saved me back then. I lied and said I had no family. My sister was still young. I just wanted to rely on the Shin family to give her a stable life." She then pleaded, "Sister, please don't tell the Shin family that I'm actually not a girl." It was indeed surprising. Was this what people called a cross-dresser? But Shin Niang didn't want to get involved. She simply said, "It has nothing to do with me," and walked away. Wanyang stammered in confusion, "Sis, no, not brother, no, not younger brother. I don't even know how to explain it. Anyway, thank you, sister." After learning the truth, Shin Niang remained indifferent and left, then headed to Xie Yun's place. She was greeted by the Xie family's housekeeper. The housekeeper said, "The young master likes quiet. It's usually just him and me at home." That finally explained why Shin Niang had been able to enter the Xie residence so easily before. The housekeeper simply said, "This is the young master's room. Please go ahead." Shin Niang stopped at the door and knocked lightly a few times. After hearing Xie Yun say, "Come in," she stepped inside. The delicate-looking boy spoke gently, "You're here, Nyen Nyen," his eyes filled with quiet anticipation. Shin Niang replied calmly, "You can call me by my full name." He ignored that completely and insisted on calling her wife. Once inside, Shin Niang got straight to the point. "The teacher was worried you'd fall behind. Can you follow the lessons on your own?" The meaning was simple, just like asking whether someone eats by themselves or needs to be fed. Seeing through her intent, Xie Yun felt secretly pleased and answered innocently, "Why don't you teach me? I don't understand." While Shin Niang focused on explaining the problem, Xie Yun kept staring at her face as if the answer itself were written there. His Nyen Nyen 2 lifetimes later was still just as beautiful. He had been about to reach for her hand when she turned her head casually and asked, "Is there anything you still don't understand?" Caught off guard, he didn't know what to say and could only point at a random spot. Seeing that Xie Yun still hadn't grasped it, Shin Niang patiently explained it once more. Yet Xie Yun's gaze never left her face. Sitting this close was already enough for him, and he thought quietly, "I'll make sure you stay by my side like this forever." The next day, as soon as Shin Niang arrived at school, she heard that Yi Jisung hadn't shown up. She had no idea what had happened. When she got home and was about to enter her room, she heard her sister calling out to her. She turned to look. Wanyang stood there holding a gift, saying it was meant as an apology. But that incident was something Shin Niang had long since stopped caring about. Her sister said, "Yi Jisung withdrew from school this morning. I promise she won't bother you again. This is a gift I bought for you." Inside was a sapphire necklace that shimmered softly. Shin Niang still refused it. Wanyang thought to herself that no matter what, she had to give this gift to her sister. Shin Niang assumed her sister had ulterior motives and said calmly, "Don't worry that I'm not interested in telling anyone about your situation." She added, "Keep the necklace for your sister," then left without another word. Hearing this, Wanyang had no choice but to let it go. After all, forced kindness never ends well. After talking for quite a while, Shin Niang finally finished explaining and added, "You can keep the notes and look them over tonight." Xie smiled slightly and replied, "Thank you." With her task done, Shin Niang stood up and said, "I'll head out now. Get some good rest." Xie answered, "Be careful on the way," watching her figure fade into the distance. He tidied his slightly messy backpack, stretched up to pull the curtain aside, unwilling to miss even one last glimpse of her as she left. That silhouette, whether in his past life or this one, had long been etched deeply into Xie mind. Just then, the housekeeper came over with a phone to report to the young master. One glance at the screen made Xie want to smash it. The headline was utterly unforgivable clickbait. His gaze turned cold as he instructed the housekeeper to find out who was behind it. The next morning, when Xie saw his wife arrive at school, he greeted her proactively. Shin Niang glanced at his complexion and thought to herself that he looked much better than yesterday. Full of anticipation, he said, "Nian Nian, you left something at my place yesterday," that he hoped returning it might earn him a bit of praise. But Shin Niang replied coolly, "We're not that close yet, are we?" Seeing her displeased, Xie panicked and quickly apologized that I was too forward. Shin Niang then took the book and said, "I'm not blaming you." Hearing that, Xie finally relaxed that he knew Nian Nian was never that petty. That day, Shin Niang was leisurely walking her wolf dog. Suddenly, someone appeared behind her. The wolf dog reacted instantly, charging at the intruder like a knight protecting his princess. The one pinned by the dog turned out to be Xie. Xie hurriedly explained that he had only come to say hello. Shin Niang reached out and asked, "Are you okay?" Xie took the chance to invite her. "Would you like to come over to my place? The dog can come too." Once home, Xie said he had prepared some food. The wolf dog, however, looked displeased, as if thinking, "Talking is fine, why are you touching people?" Xie brought out some fruit and said, "I'm not sure if you like it." Shin Niang accepted it and replied softly, "Thanks." Xie suddenly asked, "Does Nick have any relatives? I'm thinking of getting one too, would look cool taking it out." That it was really just an excuse to walk in the park with her. Shin Niang took a bite of her orange and replied, "No." Just then, Xie felt a tight pain in his chest. He knew his condition was acting up again. Seeing the change in his expression, Shin Niang asked, "What's wrong?" He didn't know how to explain. He couldn't exactly say it was a lasting injury from saving her. Faced with her concern, Xie forced himself to stay calm and said he had simply choked. In truth, her concern alone seemed to ease the pain. Nothing worked better than being cared about by the one he loved. Shin Niang handed him a glass of water and told him to drink more. Xie took it and replied, "Okay." After finishing the fruit, Shin Niang called Nick over and said it was time to head home. Before leaving, she said to Xie, "Thanks for the food. I'm taking Nick back now. What about you?" "I'll walk you out." Xie said that he knew better than anyone that his health was steadily declining. The doctor had already told him his condition had worsened and he could feel it himself. Yet when the image of his wife surfaced in his mind, along with that moment from his past life, when she told him, "Even if the whole world wants to kill me, it's enough to have you by my side," his thoughts wavered and he made up his mind. "Increase the dosage of the medicine," he said. The doctor reacted in shock. "It's possible, but are you trying to kill yourself?" Xie pressed a hand to his chest and said quietly, "I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself, that I'll do something she'll hate." Because he knew Nian Nian shone like light itself, drawing countless people toward her. He had already foreseen how many rivals would appear, so restraint was his only option. The doctor could only compromise. "Besides taking your medication on schedule, you can also do other things to distract yourself. I'll go get the medicine." At that moment, Xie was weighed down with worry. In her past life, Nian Nian had suffered endlessly from birth. She had rarely known kindness. Forced by her circumstances, she did whatever it took to survive. Yet even at the end, she never forgot to protect him. So in this life, he would protect her in return and let her live in peace. One day, the girls were playing basketball on the court. Xie sat on the sidelines quietly watching. Before long, his wife arrived as well. Shin Niang sat down beside him and asked, "Why are you alone?" Ever since getting to know her, he no longer tried to hide it. He admitted he didn't really like sports. Remembering his health before, Shin Niang asked, Are you feeling better now? Yeah, much better. Nyen Nyen is worried about me. Just then Wanyang came over and asked, Sister, want to play basketball? The girls from our 2 classes are having a match. The teacher said the winning class won't need evening study today. Shin Niang thought the idea sounded good and replied, let's go. She took off her jacket, which would only get in the way she was about to step onto the court. Tossing it aside, she said to Xie Yun, hold this for me. Taking her jacket, Xie Yun felt his heart bloom with joy, as if he could still catch her scent on it. He watched Shin Niang's back as she walked away, feeling like a cheerleader, silently rooting for her. On the court, the girls gave it their all, pulling out every skill they had. A few of them, however, were especially irritated, thinking that if not for her, Yi Jisong wouldn't have withdrawn from school, and they were determined to teach her a lesson. Reality quickly proved them wrong. Shin Niang played far too well. Even her casual shots landed with absurd accuracy. After all, Shin was a killer. Her athletic instincts rivaled those of a pro, sending the boys in the stands into a frenzy. Xie Yun was completely taken by how cool his wife looked. When the score was announced, Wanyang came over to congratulate her. Sister, congratulations. Shin Niang loosened her hair and replied thanks. As the game ended, Xie Yun handed her a bottle of water. Congrats. Shin Niang took it, twisted the cap open and drank. Bathed in sunlight, she looked like a little sun herself. Xie Yun watched her, never getting tired of the sight. He then draped her jacket over her shoulders and said softly, don't catch a cold. After school, Xie Yun walked straight up to her and said, school's out. Want to head out together? But at that moment, Shin Niang's brother had already arrived to pick her up. Seeing Xie Yun beside her, her brother couldn't help but feel puzzled. Why was someone from the Xie family with his sister? He stepped out of the car and waved at her, clearly signaling that he was there to take her home. Seeing this, Xie Yun waved back and said bye. Seeing that Xie Yun was heading home alone, Shin Niang felt a slight sense of concern. She opened the car door and asked, Xie Yun, want a ride? An invitation from his wife was something he could hardly refuse. After a while, they arrived at Xie Yun's place. Smiling at her, he said, thanks for today, Nyen Nyen. See you tomorrow. After he got out, her brother kept watching his retreating figure, wondering whether he should say something to his sister. Noticing his odd expression, Shin Niang asked, third brother, something wrong? He explained, you've just returned to Ling City, so there's a lot you don't know. Xie Yun only came here a few months ago. I heard he was driven out by that Xie family in the capital. Hearing this, she simply replied, oh, thinking it made sense why he lived with only a butler. Her brother continued, and just look at him, you can tell he's seriously ill. That if you ever date someone, don't choose a guy like that. Complicated family, too much trouble. She knew Xie Yun did look fragile but still answered, we're just classmates. Hearing that, her brother finally relaxed. Classmates was fine. It seemed he had overthought things. The next day, as soon as Shin Niang arrived at school, she saw Xie Yun rushing over excitedly. Nyen Nyen, you're a big star now, he said. You hit #1 on Weibo's trending list just because you were so cool playing basketball. You've got a lot of fans now. Shin Niang noticed that among the gossip, besides people shipping CPs, there was also plenty of nonsense. Looking at the photos of his wife on Weibo, Xie Yun was delighted. Just then the bell rang, signaling the end of class. He slowly stood up and said, let's have lunch together. It's on me. Thanks for giving me a ride home yesterday. After they found a seat, the dishes were already ordered. Xie Yun said, I'm not sure if these 2 dishes suit your taste. Try them first. The way they ate together made them look like an intimate couple. Just then a girl slipped and nearly fell, about to collapse towards Xie Yun. She thought to herself that he would definitely catch her, giving her a chance to strike up a conversation. But Xie Yun completely ignored her. Other than his wife, he had no interest in looking at any woman. With no one to support her, the girl fell to the ground along with her tray, shattering it everywhere. The so-called green tea girl instantly looked like a resentful shrew, blaming everything around her. She shouted angrily, Xie Yun, couldn't you at least help me up? Are you even a man? Xie Yun replied coldly, dirty. Not worth washing my hands again. Enraged, the gossiping woman snapped, I was giving you face and you don't even want it. Other than being good-looking, what can you do? You look half dead. Who knows when you'll die? I was being generous to you. So what if you're from the Xie family? You follow Shin Niang around like a lapdog. Beg me instead, and if I'm in a good mood, I might toss you some money. She dared to be so arrogant because she knew Xie Yun was a discarded child of the Xie family. Unable to tolerate it anymore, Shin Niang stood up. She looked at the green tea girl with cold eyes and said, say that again. Shin Niang grabbed Xie Yun's hand and said, he's mine. Who are you to judge him? If the Xie family won't accept him, the Shin family will protect him. Seeing his wife stand up for him like that, Xie Yun felt genuinely happy. While wiping the dirt off his hands, he said calmly, if you touch something dirty, you wash your hands. Shin Niang then looked at the girl and said, classmate Chu, please settle the bill that you've ruined my appetite. What remained behind was only the gossiping woman, left fuming on her own. The two of them walked out together. Xie Yun said, thank you for standing up for me just now. Shin Niang, a little awkward, replied, Xie Yun, why don't you stay by my side from now on? Of course, he was more than happy. Sure. Are you protecting me, Niang? She replied, I'm just worried about your health, you're always getting bullied. Xie Yun looked at her deeply and said, eh. But in his heart he thought quietly, this life, let me be the one to protect you. Some time later, Shin Niang was called to the principal's office. Waiting there was a middle-aged woman shouting loudly, my daughter was just eating her meal and got bullied, where's the justice? Principal, this happened at your school, and if you don't give me a clear answer today, I won't let this go. The green tea girl stood aside, feeling smug, thinking, serves you right. Shin Niang felt not only annoyed, but also deeply tired. What a hassle. The principal didn't know how to handle it either and could only say, let's wait until Shin's parents arrive. Soon after, the Shin family's family F4 arrived together. Anyone who dared bully the father's daughter or the sibling's little sister would not get away with it. Upon receiving the notice, Shin Niang's father, Shin Wei, rushed over immediately. The principal apologized awkwardly for being delayed on the way, while the siblings hurried to check on their little sister, afraid she might even have a scratch. Shin Wei glared fiercely at the woman and said, so you're the one who bullied my precious daughter? The woman snapped back angrily, Mr. Shin, get your facts straight. Your daughter hit my Yada, don't twist the truth just because you have power. Hearing that, the brother immediately defended his sister. Then your daughter must have done something first to provoke my sister. Standing to the side, the imposing elder sister Shin Chihua said calmly, Madam Chu, your daughter doesn't seem injured at all. Making false accusations carries legal consequences. The brother, Shin Shu, pointed at them with force that if someone had really been hit, there would be marks. Don't think you can bully my sister just because you assume she has no backing. After hearing this, the mother and daughter were stunned and at a loss for words. At that moment, Shin Wei spoke firmly, enough. Watch your manners. Watching everything quietly, Shin Niang finally felt reassured. Even though they hadn't spent much time together, they truly stood up for her. Just then, Xie Yun rushed in and said, Principal, I have something to say. He continued, the conflict between classmate Chu Wenyao and classmate Shin Niang happened because of me. Shin Niang acted out of justice. She couldn't stand hearing Chu Wenyao insult me. There are cafeteria cameras. You can check them. The truth was soon revealed as everyone watched the footage. The situation was crystal clear, and Shin Wei's confidence rose immediately. So that's how it is, Madam Chu, Shin Wei said coolly. My daughter knows how to protect others, while yours only knows how to bully. The father couldn't help but feel pleased inside. At that moment, the brother spoke sternly. Originally, the Shin family was about to begin a business partnership with the Chu family. The contract was scheduled for next week. Now, it seems unnecessary. The words left the woman livid. She collapsed weakly to the ground, her dignity gone, and even her family's cooperation ruined by her own hands. With the matter settled, the Shin family had their answer. Shin Wei said to the principal, since everything is clear now, we'll be taking our leave. Just before leaving, a voice called out, Uncle Shin. Xie Yun stepped forward and apologized, sorry for causing you trouble. Shin Wei replied kindly, it's fine. You're Niang's friend, and if you have time, feel free to visit our home more often. Reassured by the response, Xie Yun simply answered, all right. As everyone left one after another, Xie Yun asked Shin Niang, it's the weekend tomorrow. Any plans? At that moment, her phone rang in her pocket. She glanced at the message. It was a new mission posted by the Paranormal Task Group, with a bounty of 50 million. Interested? Alright, I'll take it. Having accepted the task, Shin Niang was naturally unavailable. She said, I already have plans with a friend tomorrow at noon. I'll head off now. Hey then. Xie Yun waved and said bye. But after she left, Xie Yun already understood what was going on. If he remembered correctly, the username Niang used on that forum was Ju. How could he let her face something so dangerous alone? The next day, Shin Niang went out on a mission. Dressed in black, she looked as striking as ever, carrying an even stronger, commanding presence. When the scruffy man realized she was there specifically for him, he snapped and screamed, Get out! Get out! His face twisted grotesquely as if possessed, clearly misled by something unclean, shouting threats, if you don't leave I'll kill you. Seeing that he had already lost his mind, Shen Niang said calmly, "You're nothing but a drained vessel." Interesting. The man, completely deranged, yelled, "Get back to where you came from, or when Master Xia arrives, you'll regret it." At that moment, Shen Niang sensed something behind her. A man in black was already standing there. She hadn't even noticed when he appeared that he looked strangely familiar. The masked man spoke, "You here to hunt spirits too? What a coincidence. Want to team up?" Though in truth, everything had been planned to help her. Hearing his voice, Shen Niang felt suspicious that it sounded artificial, a voice changer. Could he be the man rumored in the underworld? Seeing him, the scruffy man shouted, "Master Xie, deal with her." Shen Niang genuinely thought he was an enemy and prepared herself if it came to a fight she wouldn't hold back. Instead, the masked man handed her an item and said, "Use mine." That left her momentarily speechless. The scruffy man grew even angrier, realizing he'd been played. Xie Yun handed over a talisman and said, "If you don't want to act, I will." Sensing his end was near, the man struggled and roared, "In your dreams." He lunged at them, thinking that if he was going down, he'd take them with him. The attempt was futile. Xie Yun struck decisively, a talisman detonating with a sharp blast. With the threat eliminated, he reported the outcome to Shen Niang. Shen Niang felt puzzled. That man had the same pale glow as Xie Yun, though surely he wasn't as good-looking. She asked calmly, "I didn't hire you. Why did you help me?" Xie Yun didn't answer. How could he dare protect anything his wife intended to destroy? He turned and left, leaving Shen Niang standing there in quiet thought. The legendary figure was interesting, but when he had stood beside her just now, why had she felt such a strange familiarity? Inside the car, Xie Yun told the butler in a low voice, "We need to leave quickly, she can't see me." Because in this life he wanted to protect her from the shadows, to free her completely from the tragic fate of her past life. In his memories, Shen Niang once whispered, "I hope that in my next life someone will love me." Xie Yun held her and cried, saying, "Niang, someone will love you. You'll have family who cherish you, friends who protect you, but no one will ever love you more than I do. So wherever you are, I will be with you. And no matter the cost, I will stay by your side." That day, the disciples shouted in unison, "National scholar, don't do a life exchange. It's a forbidden art. Shen Niang committed too many sins in this life. And the next, she is destined to be abandoned by all and scorned by the world. If you force a life exchange with her, your fate will be damaged at best, endless illness in your next life. At worst, your very existence will be erased." Holding Shen Niang tightly, Xie Yun said coldly, "All of you step back. I will keep the promise I made. Even if my soul is damaged in the next life, so long as she can live as she wishes, it's worth it." Back in the present, Xie Yun returned to school with a gentle smile. Yet the students whispered among themselves, "Don't you think so?" After being absent for 3 days, Xie Yun looks even weaker, like he'd fall over if the wind blew. Shen Niang turned to him and asked, "Where did you go these past few days?" He could only lie and say he had gone to see a doctor. Then Xie Yun said, "Niang, let's add each other on V. If you can't find me, you can message me." That day, Xie Yun finally returned to school and got what he wanted by adding her on V. He stared at her profile picture on his screen, constantly reminding himself to protect her. Just then Wan Yang asked, "Sister, the math Olympiad is coming up. The teachers hope you'll sign up too." Shen Niang had planned to refuse, but when she heard that participating meant no evening study sessions this term, she weighed the pros and cons and agreed. Seeing her sign up, Xie Yun volunteered eagerly, "If Niang's joining, then I'll join too." Watching how close the man and her sister had become, Wan Yang couldn't help feeling a little jealous. In the blink of an eye, exam day arrived. The proctor thought to himself, "This Shen Niang just transferred here and already keeps causing trouble. She's obviously unruly. Her grades can't be that good. I'll keep a close eye on her." Despite the many students in the room, the proctor focused solely on Shen Niang. Watching her write nonstop, he sneered inwardly. Not even reading the questions, she must not understand a thing. Just scribbling. Does a student like this even belong here? The malicious gaze made even Xie Yun, seated behind her, feel uncomfortable. Other students noticed as well. Looks like Shen's being targeted. But why does she seem completely calm? She remained calm and composed, already sensing something was off. Xie Yun, however, couldn't let it go and quietly kept score. Anyone daring to trouble Niang would pay for it. A few days later, the exam results were released. The female teacher, for some reason, came in leaning on a cane. Clearly irritated, she shouted, "What are you laughing at?" Other students whispered, "I heard Teacher Zhao fell flat on his face the night of the first exam, so it's true." The teacher began announcing the results. "This monthly exam is out. Our class took 2 spots in the top 3. Shin Niang scored full marks in every subject, first in the grade. Xie-yun placed 3rd. The couple's results drew waves of admiration from the class. Seeing his wife take first place, Xie-yun felt quietly proud. Just as the teacher was about to continue, the cane-carrying teacher cut in. Shin Niang, why do your major math questions have no solution steps, only final answers? Shin Niang stood up and replied calmly, the problems were simple. Writing out the steps would have been a waste of time. That infuriated the teacher. These are real college entrance exam questions. You're the only one in the entire grade who got them all right. Did you guess or did you cheat? If I had graded this paper, I would never have given you full marks. Shin Niang answered unhurriedly, during the math exam, you stood right next to me the entire time. Whether I cheated or not, you know best. The teacher was left speechless and finally said coldly, fine. In that case, write out the full solutions to these 3 problems on the blackboard right now, or your score will be voided for cheating. From the back row, Xie-yun watched the scene in silence. Holding himself back, it was clear she still hadn't learned her lesson and was targeting Niang again. Confident and upright, Shin Niang showed no panic and walked straight to the front. Scratch, scratch. After a few minutes, the full solution was written out. Teacher Zhao, I'm done. The class reacted as if witnessing a revelation, cheering, that's amazing. Cornered and desperate to save face, the teacher said coldly, Shin Niang, did you look this up online? Remember, there's no room for tricks like this in the college entrance exam. Seeing the situation resolved, the female teacher brought the matter to an end. All right, Shin. You may return to your seat. This was our misunderstanding. With the issue settled, Shin Niang went back to her seat. At that very moment, Xie-yun had already gathered evidence of the teacher accepting bribes. He immediately pushed for action, demanding her dismissal. As gossip spread, the incident quickly swept through the entire school. That day, just as Shin Niang was about to get into the car, a familiar voice called out. Xie-yun spoke lazily, Niang. Heading out. It's the weekend. I was planning to come find you, but I guess the timing's off. Seeing that he might be bored alone, Shin Niang said, my 3rd brother's band has a competition today. That if you're free, come watch with us. The invitation made him absurdly happy, as if struck by a piece of cotton candy. The band competition was lit up with dazzling stage lights. The Shin family, including Xie-yun, all arrived. Her sister said after 2 rounds, Xiaoshu's team has been leading. Dice long as they stay steady in the final round, they'll win. Xie-yun said, look at the camera, and snapped a photo. It's done, let me see. The 2 of them in the photo looked like a perfect match, except Shin Niang still wore her usual expressionless face. Xie-yun said proudly, so, not bad, right? Look at us, Niang, we match perfectly. As his words faded, the focus returned to the stage where the host was still talking non-stop. Ladies and gentlemen, the final round of today's rock band competition is about to begin. Who will take the crown? Let's find out. First up, one of the top contenders, Nirvana. As the rhythm built, the crowd raised their hands in excitement. On stage, Shin Shu shone like a true idol, while his sister cheered passionately from below. Suddenly, Shin Shu felt a wave of discomfort. Within seconds, he lost consciousness and collapsed, lying motionless on the stage. The band members froze, the audience was confused, and the Shin family grew frantic. There was no doubt the sudden accident had completely disrupted the performance. For reasons unknown, Shin Shu could no longer continue the competition. Under the circumstances, Shin Niang stepped forward and volunteered to substitute him and carry on. With overwhelming skill, she easily secured first place for her brother. After stepping off the stage, Shin Niang looked at Xie-yun and asked, how is my 3rd brother? Xie-yun answered honestly, he can't make any sound. Shin Niang then went inside to check on her brother. After lightly pinching Shin Shu's cheek, she concluded that he had been poisoned, only a mild dose, with no threat to his life. Mr. Shin said, I've already called the doctor. Her sister, however, was thinking about who could have targeted Shin Shu. Her brothers and sisters had always treated Shin Niang well, which made her determined to find the culprit. She immediately moved to check the surveillance, and Xie-yun said, I'll come with you. Minutes later, the 2 of them found clear evidence in the control room. The guy was careless, he clearly hadn't realized there were cameras. Having seen him earlier, Shin Niang recognized him at once and said his name. It's Ching Tuo from the band Black. Since they had the footage, Xie-yun handed over a USB drive. Copy it as evidence. Shin Niang was slightly puzzled that he carried something like that with him, but didn't dwell on it. Xie-yun said, you're really protective, Niang. You treat your family so well. She replied, not just family. Anyone who's mine, I won't let others bully them. She had said those exact words in her previous life, so he knew her character well. That was one of the reasons he loved her. As they headed back with the evidence, Xie-yun thought to himself, I remember these words. You said them before. Niang, you're not only my life but also my salvation. The real culprit was still complaining about losing the competition. Shin Niang arrived at that moment and said calmly, You're the one who poisoned my third brother, right? Her tone was firm. You're coming with me to the police station. After some time, everything related to her brother was settled. Xie-yun took his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The culprit's finally been dealt with. I brought an extra jacket, it's cold at night, don't catch a cold. She accepted it and said thanks. Looking at her face, Xie-yun felt that the time they spent together was never enough. He wished they could stay alone a bit longer. Just then headlights drew closer. A car, its brand unclear but obviously expensive, pulled up and the door opened. A handsome man stepped out. Little sister, I'm your second brother, Shin Ma-shing. Sorry it took me so long to come back and see you. Both of them were a little confused by this unfamiliar brother, having never met him before. The second brother cast a wary look at Xie-yun, wondering who this man was, why he was with his sister, and why she was wearing his jacket. A soft reminder snapped him back to reality. What are you doing? She hasn't met you before, don't scare her. The sister then explained, little sister, he really is your second brother. We're twins. Shin Shu is fine now. I rushed over to find you and happened to meet him. After understanding, Shin Niang called out, second brother. Shin Ma-shing said, I'm on vacation these days, so I have plenty of time. Whatever you want to buy or wherever you want to go, I can go with you. Still, the two men clearly didn't see eye to eye. Shin Niang explained, second brother, he's my classmate. He helped me investigate what happened to my third brother. The sister stepped in. All right, enough of that. How are things now? Shin Niang explained the situation. Although Ching Tuo has confessed, I think his teammates are also involved. I'll keep investigating and I'll help follow it through. When the discussion was nearly over, the second brother opened the car door. It's late. Let's talk at home. It's cold outside. Get in the car. On the way back, Shin Niang said to Xie-yun, you should come with me. But the jealous second brother deliberately made Xie-yun sit in the front seat. The two exchanged unfriendly looks inside the car. The sister said, now that Ma-shing is back, Shin Shu can be discharged soon. Dad wants to hold a celebration banquet for the band's win and officially announce little sister's return to the Shin family. Xie-yun added, Niang, I want to attend as well. She agreed, it couldn't be better. At the banquet, young heirs and heiresses mingled. Someone asked, Mr. Shin, your youngest daughter is so beautiful. Did I ask the Shin family considering an alliance by marriage? Shin's father refused decisively. She's just come back. There are no such plans for now. We respect our children's choices and won't interfere. In the crowd, Wanyang was also chatting with several figures from high society. Just then, a black-haired girl called out, Sister Wanyang. Wanyang glanced over as the girl came up close. Long time no see, did you miss me? Wanyang replied calmly, Hun, you're still the same. Ihan continued, Uncle really went all out for Nyen Kate. By the way, did Shin Niang bully you or throw her weight around? Did she give you any attitude? Wanyang answered, nothing like that. Don't worry, I'm fine. Then she added, you haven't met my sister yet, right? Go say hello to she's here. As Shin Niang approached, Wanyang introduced her. Sister, this is my second uncle's daughter, our cousin, Shin Ihan. Shin Ihan clearly didn't look very friendly toward Shin Niang. Standing nearby, Xie-yun thought to himself that this girl was really asking for trouble. Then the cousin said, Cousin, Sister Wanyang has been with the Shin family for many years. She's like family to us. You should treat her well too. Before she could continue, Wanyang stopped her with a gesture, clearly telling her not to stir trouble or meddle. After correcting her cousin, Wanyang explained to Shin Niang, Sister, Ihan is still young. Kids speak without thinking. I'll take her to see Grandpa first. But Xie-yun was never generous at heart. If you give my wife attitude, I won't make things easy for you either. In the end, the banquet was nothing more than people clashing with people, dogs snapping at dogs. Xie-yun watched Shin Ihan walk away, silently remembering how she embarrassed Niang in public. The very next day, 2 new students arrived in class. The teacher announced, Class, Shin Ihan and Luo Man have transferred here starting today. Please get along well. The moment a pretty transfer student was mentioned, the classroom burst into cheers. When Shin Ihan walked in, she deliberately snorted, clearly displeased with Xie-yun. She picked a seat near the back. I'll sit here. You can sit next to me. Glancing at Shin Niang not far away, she thought irritably, I don't want to sit that close to her. I thought I'd be in the same class as Sister Wanyang. Instead I'm stuck here, seeing her every day, so annoying. Her friend beside her whispered, Xiaohan, do you not like that girl? Shin Ihan sneered. How would I dare not like her? She's the daughter uncle finally found. Even Sister Wanyang has to mind her mood. Hearing this, the friend fanned the flames. Xiaohan, if you really don't like Shin Niang, I can help you think of a way to deal with her. After hearing that, the cousin hesitated. They had just transferred here, and although Shin Yihan disliked Shin Niang, she'd heard from Wanyang that Niang had never bullied her. Deep down, she didn't want to cause trouble. But her friend kept pushing. Xiaohan, you're too kind. Look at how arrogant she is. She clearly doesn't take you seriously. That will just teach her a small lesson. Nothing will happen. Hearing this, Shin Yihan couldn't make up her mind. Back in the classroom, the two were whispering about what to do when the girl in front reminded them. They brushed it off, saying they were just girls. How could they possibly provoke her? Seeing her warning ignored, the girl could only give up helplessly. During the break, Xie asked softly, Niang, lunch together again tomorrow? Before she could answer, someone interrupted. Shin Niang. Shin Yihan and her friend pointed at her desk. Li Yufeng stuffed something into your drawer. Instead of fear, the comment sparked Shin Niang's curiosity. She leaned down to look inside, calm and unbothered. Worried, Xie instinctively grabbed her arm. In a protective tone, he said, stay behind me. It was unnecessary. Shin Niang patted his shoulder. There's nothing that can scare me. She reached into the drawer and, by instinct alone, lifted out a small snake. The classroom erupted in screams as everyone backed away, yet someone who fears neither tigers nor blades wouldn't be scared of a snake, especially one this gentle. Everyone around felt chills run down their spines. Shin Niang stepped closer to the boy and asked calmly, you did this? Terrified, he confessed at once. Weiss. She told me to do it. That it wasn't my idea. With a faint smile, Shin Niang turned back toward the two girls. Shin Yihan's friend panicked. What are you trying to do? Stroking the snake's scales, Shin Niang replied coolly, what do you think? So timid yet so ignorant. With everything exposed, Shin Yihan hurriedly argued. Shin Niang, that boy said Luo Man ordered it. You believe him? Where's the proof? Shin Niang didn't even spare her a glance. She extended the snake slightly as if inviting them to play. The two were instantly terrified out of their minds. They cried and screamed for their mothers. Sorry, my hand slipped. But the girl was already foaming at the mouth from fright. Xie gently patted the snake's head, almost making it shy. He said calmly, serves them right. Niang, I'll handle this. Don't let it ruin your mood. The onlookers murmured, that's scared, yet they still dared to provoke someone? Shin Yihan seemed to read Shin Niang's lips clearly. Know your place. Later that day, during P.E. class, Shin Niang went to the equipment room to fetch sports gear. Just as she was about to enter, a hand rested on her shoulder. When she turned around, she already knew who it was. Xie looked at her and said, Niang, you're here to get the P.E. equipment, right? I'll come with you. She casually asked, that snake yesterday didn't hurt you, did it? He replied, I'm fine. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. The one who closed it was Shin Yihan's friend, someone surnamed Man. She laughed smugly. The key snapped. Let's see how you get out. This is the last class of the afternoon. No one's coming. Shin Niang tried twisting the handle a few times. The door was locked tight. Xie asked quietly, I didn't bring my phone. Do you have yours? Message a classmate to get a teacher. Shin Niang took out her phone. I have it, but I don't have anyone else added. For a brief moment, both felt awkward. Her contacts held only one name, Xie. She pushed the door again. It's really tight. We should call someone. They leaned toward the window and looked out. The field was completely empty, not even a bird in sight. If it weren't for the railing, she could have climbed out. Seeing this, Xie wasn't in a hurry at all. Being alone with her was better than anywhere else. It seemed they could only wait. With just one glance, Shin Niang judged the lock. It was nothing but beginner level. It wasn't that she couldn't get out. With Xie there, she simply didn't want to show her skills. Waiting was the easier choice. At the moment Shin Niang and Xie were locked inside, the first few dozen seconds passed quietly as they sat there. Soon, Xie began to feel unwell. A bad thought crossed his mind. This place was too cold, and his old condition might be acting up. Shin Niang noticed his discomfort and immediately draped her coat over him. The equipment room barely got any sunlight. If it was cold, he needed to keep it on. Xie still tried to brush it off, softly insisting he was fine. Your face is practically white. How is that fine? Shin Niang adjusted his clothes firmly. Listen to me. Seeing her like this, Xie started acting spoiled instead. Niang, I'm still so cold. Why hasn't anyone noticed we're stuck here? She brushed his bangs aside and checked his temperature with her hand, but all she felt was cold. Afraid something might happen to him, Shin Niang stood up, ready to force the door open. Xie grabbed her hand and said weakly, damaging public property will get us punished. The reason he was so fragile was the price he had paid for Shin Niang in his previous life, a punishment that followed him into this one. He looked at her pitifully. Niang, can I hold you? The question caught her off guard, but seeing how weak he looked, she stopped. In the end, she chose to calm him with a hug just a little tight, almost ticklish. It was the first time the couple had held each other like this in this life. Compared to past pain, all she felt now was warmth. Shin Niang held Xie and softly asked if he could still hold on. Just then her phone rang. Her help had probably arrived. After all, aside from Xie, only her mining call work partners knew this number. The caller was a young woman. Senior, it's Sinwei. I've arrived in Linqing. I'm at number 1 high now. Hearing that, Shin Niang finally relaxed. After briefly explaining the situation, help arrived immediately and the door was opened. Shin Niang supported Xie by the shoulder and carefully helped him out. She explained to the teacher the key snapped inside the lock. Someone locked us in on purpose. The teacher replied, understood. As long as you're safe, I'll look into it. Once everything was explained, she turned to her friend. I'll take Xie to the infirmary first. We'll talk later. Hey, I'll wait for you at the school gate. The atmosphere between them was close, almost tender, just a kiss away. Seeing how much Shin Niang cared for that boy, the girl couldn't help wondering who he was. Inside the infirmary, Shin Niang poured a cup of warm water and gently helped Xie sit up. She asked softly, feeling better, drink some warm water. Then she tucked him in, get some rest. Looking at her husband's handsome face as if naturally filtered, she felt a quiet sweetness rise in her chest. To Shin Niang, his looks were the most flawless she had ever seen, perfect in every detail, except for his fragile health. Thinking back on what had just happened, she suddenly realized there were still things left unresolved. She tapped her own head and muttered to herself, this really wasn't the time to be thinking about that. Who exactly had locked them in the equipment room? She needed to find out. Whoever it was clearly didn't value their own peace. Once she caught them, it wouldn't end easily. After he recovered enough, Xie was discharged from the infirmary. Seeing her constantly worrying about him, he said with concern, you don't need to walk me home. Go stay with your friend. Hearing her name, the girl immediately chimed in, no need. I've transferred here anyway. I'll be with Sister K every day from now on. Then she smiled. But this is the first time I've seen you care for someone like this, and it's a guy. Aren't you going to introduce him? Shin Niang replied calmly, don't overthink it. He's just my classmate. Just a classmate. Hearing that, Xie felt a clear pang of disappointment. At that moment, a familiar figure approached. It was her father, Shin Jia. He hurried over, checking on his daughter with concern. The teacher called and said you were locked in the equipment room. Are you okay? He asked. Seeing how worried he was, Shin Niang explained, I'm fine. Xie just isn't feeling very well. Shin Jia nodded. Then let's give him a ride home as well. Hearing that, Xie could only respond obediently, thank you. The perceptive girl waved her hand and said goodbye, see you tomorrow. But the spark of gossip was still burning. She cared so much, yet refused to admit it. Shin Niang carefully helped Xie into the car, thinking to herself how little self-awareness he had. Inside the car, her father said, public security hasn't been great lately. I've heard several nearby families were robbed. Shin Niang added, even well-guarded wealthy areas have been broken into lately. With the situation unsettled, Shin Jia hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Xiaoyun lives alone, right? I'm a bit worried. To be safe, how about he stays at our place for a while? Once it was mentioned, Shin Niang recalled how easily someone had entered Xie home before. If a thief showed up, it really would be dangerous. His vigilance was far too low. After thinking for a moment, she said, I don't mind. It depends on whether he's willing. That's great. Thank you, Uncle Shin. Thank you, Niang. I'll move in tomorrow. Xie agreed without hesitation, which actually startled her. That same day, Xie finished packing and said to her, Niang, I'll go home with you after school today. Just then, her friend's anxious voice came through the phone. Sister K, you're trending. Not knowing why, Shin Niang checked the phone and saw the headline, Senior Year, Class 9. Early Romance. The photo showed her hugging Xie when they were trapped, secretly taken by someone with bad intentions. After seeing the photo, Xie frowned and asked quietly, someone secretly took pictures of us. It looks like they don't even know we've noticed. Her friend stressed, the post has already been reposted on local forums in Linqing. The discussion is intense. Sister K, what's really going on? Shin Niang replied calmly, someone's asking for trouble. First they locked us in the equipment room and now they're secretly taking photos. Such childish tricks, most likely a student from this school. At that moment the homeroom teacher arrived. Perfect timing. Come with me. You've probably seen the photos online. As your teacher, I'm willing to trust you and I'll investigate the unauthorized photo taking incident. But remember, you're still young. Your priority should be your studies. With no other choice, Shin Yang explained, Teacher, you misunderstood. Xie-yun is my younger brother. The word brother immediately made Xie-yun feel wronged. The teacher asked, half convinced, brother. Not a romantic relationship? Brother? Xie-yun looked at Shin Yang and quietly confirmed. Shin Yang quickly changed the subject. Let's not dwell on that. Do you think the person who locked us in the equipment room and the one who secretly took photos of us are the same? I'll find her. Seeing her determination, Xie-yun fully supported her. He knew that once Niang made up her mind, she would follow through. Having finally moved into the Shin household, Xie-yun was now temporarily settled. Shin Niang asked, Are you satisfied with the room? Anything you chose is fine, he said, but what concerned him more was the public opinion. Me staying here, will it make things harder for you? He asked. The post has been shared across several forums. Today, students from other grades even came to our class to look, and the comments weren't friendly. The comments online were getting uglier by the minute. He looked at Niang with concern and said, This already counts as cyberbullying. Shin Niang calmly replied, You don't seem like someone who would care about this. He explained, It's not that I care, I'm just afraid of dragging you into it. Hearing that, Shin Niang said simply, Don't worry, I'm already investigating. I'll know who's behind it soon. As a top-tier assassin, gathering information was easy for her. To resolve it quickly, she contacted Jansen, asking him to trace the IP and send her all the details. After settling in, she said to Xie-yun before leaving, All right, you should rest. I won't disturb you. Xie-yun nodded obediently and replied, Okay. The next second his expression changed. Young master, we've identified who made the post. After learning who it was, he had no intention of letting it slide. She's asking for trouble. Send the evidence to the Shin family immediately. Meanwhile, at the Shin residence, Ihan quietly asked Wanyan, Sister, why did uncle call us here? At that moment, Shin's father already had all the evidence in hand. Niang, he said, We found this in the mailbox at the gate. The person who posted online has been identified. It's Roman, the student who transferred to your class with Ihan. Hearing Roman's name, Ihan was shocked and quickly said, I didn't know. I really didn't know. Her emotions were clearly shaken. Wanyan soothed her. Ihan, sit down first. No one is blaming you. Shin's father, clearly protective, said, Niang, I've already posted a clarification online. As for Roman, I've decided to sue her and demand an explanation from the school. Hearing this, Shin Niang replied simply, Do as you see fit, Dad. Yet she still wondered who had moved even faster than she did. Who was helping her behind the scenes. She didn't realize the answer was right beside her. With the matter mostly settled, Shin's father reminded Ihan, That's all I wanted to say today. I know you were close to Roman, but be more careful choosing friends in the future. Ihan nodded softly. I understand, uncle. Later that day, Shin Niang met Jansen at a bar to discuss the person pulling the strings. Jansen said, Let's set that aside for now. Shin, as the renowned perfumer now that you've ended your partnership with Vanergy Perfume, what's your plan? Shin Niang replied, I plan to start my own fragrance brand. Want to partner up? It was clearly a profitable venture. Jansen agreed without hesitation, but at that moment, someone caught Shin Niang's eye. She wondered why Ihan was in a place like this and the people around her didn't look trustworthy at all. Wanting answers, Shin Niang stood up to investigate. He said to Jansen, Wait here for me. Inside a private room, Ihan confronted her friend. How could you cyberbully Shin Niang behind my back? The girl replied hypocritically, I just couldn't stand her arrogance. Ihan, I did it for you. Ihan snapped, standing up. I never asked you to do that. The girl immediately played the victim. Ihan, please help me. Can you ask your family to drop the charges? Ihan replied coldly, Shin Niang won't withdraw the lawsuit just because I ask. Since it's been exposed, you'll face the consequences yourself. She added, and next time you ask me out, don't bring strangers with you. At that moment, the girl put her plan into action, pretending to repent. I know this is my fault, Ihan. Drink this, consider it my apology. I'll accept whatever the law decides. Hearing this, Ihan didn't think much of it and drank the suspicious beverage in one go. As dizziness set in, the girl's true nature slowly surfaced. Ihan collapsed onto the sofa, her body weak as if all strength had been drained. With her scheme succeeding, the girl sneered, I thought you'd beg for me. Turns out you're heartless. Fine, then we'll go to hell together. Ihan, barely conscious, whispered, You drugged me? The girl laughed. Not just that. I prepared them for you too. Good luck, my dear friend. Trapped by the plot, Ihan could only murmur weakly, weren't we friends? The girl scoffed. If you weren't a Shin, you think I'd ever get close to you, let alone be your shadow? With a triumphant grin, she tossed out a final line that she's all yours. Despair filled Ihan's mind. Was she really about to be ruined like this? Just as the girl thought victory was assured, Shin Niang struck her down in an instant. Had Shin Niang not held back, the outcome would have been far worse. The girl screamed in shock, "Why are you here?" The scene spoke for itself. Hands in her pockets, Shin Niang stood calmly, an icy, commanding presence. The first to go down were the two fools who clearly misjudged the situation. Wrong place, wrong target. For Shin Niang, dealing with amateurs like them was almost insulting. Her movements were sharp and decisive, several strikes and it was over. The girl watched in disbelief. She hadn't expected Shin Niang to be this skilled. Shin Niang took off her jacket and draped it over Ihan's shoulders. "Can you stand?" Ihan nodded, embarrassed. A quiet thought settling in her heart, she belonged on her cousin's side now. Someone else tried their luck. The girl grabbed a glass bottle, clearly planning to escalate things. But she didn't even last a second against Shin Niang's counter. Xie Yun arrived moments later, worry plain on remind her face. "Niang, are you okay?" Supporting Ihan, Shin Niang replied calmly, "I'm fine. She needs to go to the hospital. I've already informed your father. Your family should be here soon." Through the light rain, her father approached, urgency written all over his face. Shin Niang explained briefly, "Dad, I'm fine." Ihan was drugged by Roman. Roman's inside, probably unconscious. Her father nodded firmly, "As long as you're okay. You and Xie Yun head back. I'll handle this and call the police. Wanyang, take the driver and send Ihan to the hospital." Wanyang agreed immediately. Once things were settled, Shin Niang turned to Xie Yun. "How did you know I was there?" He replied, "Didn't you tell Uncle Shin when you left?" "I heard it. When it started raining, Uncle Shin wanted to bring you an umbrella, so I said I'd go instead." In truth, the butler had already noticed Shin Jing and murmured quietly, "What a coincidence." Xie Yun felt a flicker of unease that he'd been so careful Niang shouldn't have noticed anything. Even so, her brother still rushed over despite it being late. "Sis, I just got back. I heard you weren't home yet and was about to pick you up. Looks like this guy beat me to it." Then he added bluntly, "You're home now. He can leave." But her next words clearly annoyed him. Her father had invited Xie Yun to stay. The overprotective brother shot Xie Yun a warning look. "Staying is fine. Getting ideas about my sister is not. Go inside. It's cold. I'll have hot milk prepared for you." He was strange, sure, but undeniably protective. Xie Yun thought to himself that since they were family, helping a little wouldn't hurt. He stepped closer and said quietly, "Don't go to an country." The words caught her brother completely off guard. He was in talks with a company in an country about an ad, something only he and his agent knew.